So far, I've done 2 episodes in a segment where I try to take something from Red vs. Blue that may have been confused by fans, and I try to explain it in a way where it could make sense or fit into the canon better. I did this with the Florida mix-up, where people thought that Project Freelancer blew up the state of Florida to cover up Agent Florida's death. And I did this with Private Mickey to explain that he does exist, even though Jimmy gave Church false memories, Mickey still exists. With this 3rd episode, I want to explain something that does make a little more sense as to why I would be confused. The miniseries Out of Mind. As the show has gone on, details have been added to the show that have kind of made Out of Mind contradictory to the rest of the main story. And I say Out of Mind becomes contradictory because it's a miniseries, so details in the main series, I guess, would automatically dictate the story. I've thought about it a bit, and I'm going to answer the question, is Out of Mind out of canon? While the beginning of Out of Mind takes place right after Tex leaves the Reds and Blues to go chase Wyoming in Season 4, and most of the story takes place during Season 4, there are flashbacks that we see of Tex's past. The first flashback we see brings us to Tex during her Freelancer training, right before she's about to get her AI implant, and she's talking to Church. That entire flashback could be taking place after the heist, but before Season 10, when the characters actually start getting AI. And before they even start fragmenting the Alpha. There is one small inconsistency about whether or not Tex knows what her arm ability power is.
They told us each one has a unique ability. I've been trying to figure out what mine is.
Tex, you don't have to do this.
And I think it's possible that if Church hadn't interrupted her, she may have worked into the sentence that she had discovered it was invisibility. The fact that Tex and Church are even talking during the Freelancer saga doesn't seem to line up in the first place. But my excuse is that, one, since neither of them know they're AI at the time, the director allows Church to talk with Allison because they think they're dating, and he puts him into a body. Or there's the fact that Wash even says that during training, Omega would jump from armor to armor, and that was a trait that came from Alpha. So obviously Alpha had to have at least done that a few times. So my guess is maybe Alpha jumped into another person's head when he wanted to talk to Tex because they were together, and Tex doesn't know she's an AI. Then there's the fact that Church and Jimmy seem to know each other.
Let him. Come on. Yeah, hold on a second, Jimmy.
I think it's possible that Church is actually inside Jimmy's head, and Jimmy from subconscious is being like, look, I gotta go do something, and so that's when he's about to jump out of his head. This could be why they chose Jimmy to implant Alpha into him after the Mother of Invention crash. He's done it before, and it worked well. As we see, Church doesn't actually follow Jimmy like Jimmy asked him to. So this could be a small hint that that's Jimmy's subconscious asking him to get out of his head, and then that's Church leaving Jimmy's head. This could confirm my theory about Mickey, and explain why Tex said she didn't kill Church on Sidewinder in Season 1. She could make the connection to Jimmy, leading to the scene in Season 1 where she's killing the Blues on Sidewinder. She could think that's where they hid the Alpha. And when she's wrong, that gave Florida the idea to use Jimmy and implant the Alpha into him to hide him in Blood Gulch. Once Tex shows up in Blood Gulch, she could eventually make the connection that he's in Jimmy's head, leading to her to say, that's why I didn't kill you on Sidewinder. Wyoming's taunting Church in that scene because, like the other Freelancers, he could be aware that the Alpha jumps from body to body sometimes, and Wyoming is insinuating he goes back to training. Maybe he's insinuating rather subtly that he should actually just get out of the person's body and go back to the director, because he can't just tell him, hey, you're an AI. That could go against some protocol.
Technically, you're not even supposed to be here.
I know.
We also get to the flashback of Tex talking about each Freelancer getting an AI, and eventually, because of, we know, the Wash situation with Epsilon, they start removing some of the AI, and the AI don't want to be removed. As we know in Season 10, the only person that really gets their AI removed is Wash. Gamma is taken out of Wyoming's head by himself because the Meta was trying to steal him. York kept his. North kept his because of the experiment to see what would happen with him and his sister if one had it and the other didn't. Sigma got away possessing Maine. Carolina's AI were stolen by Sigma after becoming the Meta. Project Freelancer tried to take Tex's AI, but she escaped, as we saw in this episode. So really the only person whose was removed by Project Freelancer was Wash. The scene where they're trying to take the AI from her could be taking place before the scene where the Freelancers are talking about her going rogue, and they'd find her eventually, and then she just shows up on her own. That doesn't really contradict anything. The one thing that does contradict things is when we see all the freelancers have black armor and all the freelancers lining up to get their AIs deleted. Obviously, Tex didn't run into every freelancer when she was attacking the freelancer ship when it crashed on Sidewinder, but she could have been told by Project Freelancer that the AI are getting removed from all the freelancers, so that could be what she thought at the time. As far as the black freelancers, there's either the option that those are just her mental representation of what she was thinking, kind of like when you go into Caboose's head and you see everyone's mental versions because they're freelancers, she just thinks of them all as black freelancers. Or there's the possibility that those are the Tex drones from Season 10. I know that seems like a stretch, but hear me out. Now imagine after the director was revealed to be a criminal and he goes into hiding, he doesn't have access to all of Project Freelancer's assets because, he's in hiding and he's a criminal. But it's possible he still has a time distortion unit, the one that he would have gotten from Yellow Church when Yellow Church was sent back in time. This is just a theory. It's possible that the Church clones inside the off-site storage facility still had the alpha AI in them, but then when he eventually did what I think he did, which was take the memory of Tex out of all of the Church clones, put them in the body, it's possible he used the time distortion unit to send the Tex drones back in time to that moment when Tex was getting her AI taken out, and deleted all the remaining alpha AI that the Tex drones had, leaving just the Tex AIs in the Tex drones. And that could be what happens to the AI of the Church clones. And there was a point that I was thinking that the scene we see Tex getting out of that cryo tube after being implanted with the AI was part of the Out of Mind series, but I realized it wasn't. I think it was just a scene in Season 1. But I'm going to cover that anyway, just in case there was any, discrepancies in people's minds with that situation. Obviously, when we see the freelancers get implanted with an AI, they're in that doctor's room, they're flipped forward in anti-gravity, and then they're injected on the back of the neck. Tex doesn't have a back of the neck as a human, she's a robot. So she could either have had the AI just stuck into her helmet in that position, or that scene of her getting out of the tube was when she was implanted with Omega. And it's also possible that that was the memory of her being put into the robot body in the first place when Alpha remembered her. She just, because she doesn't realize she's an AI, confused that memory as when she was implanted with Omega. And as far as Tex not knowing that York would still have Delta, it's very possible that even though Delta was there for the break-in and then they went their separate ways, she may have thought that he lost Delta in between that time because Project Freelancer was looking for all of them. So that could be as simple just a misunderstanding on her part. One more continuity error that seems to exist is the fact that York wants revenge on Wyoming for what happened to his eye, when we all see in Season 9 that the meta is the reason why that happened. Agent Mayne throws a grenade, Tex shoots York with the paint pellets, and then it freezes up his armor, saving him so he doesn't lose his life. He just loses an eye. But you also have to consider that event happened because Maine and Wyoming were doing stuff he didn't expect. They weren't working as a team, and they had live ammunition, which he didn't know. So he could be blaming Meta and Wyoming. He's just getting revenge on Wyoming in this moment. There's also the part where Delta's asking York why he even wants revenge since his eye's not coming back. And he says the fact that he lost his eye is because he didn't give up when he should have, and it was because of pride. Starts talking about how no one could beat Omega and Allison, and so going after them for revenge is going to help him feel better. And it sounds like he's adding Omega as part of the reason why he lost his eye, and obviously Tex didn't have Omega at that point. I know a lot of people seem to theorize that the Alpha split before they got the Engineer. But I don't think that, given the rules that we've seen in the show, that would make sense for anyone to have AI before that came. So he could be mentioning Omega there because right now they're trying to take down Omega in Out of Mind, and he's working with Wyoming, who he wants the revenge on. He's just lumping them together because they work together. On a side note, Out of Mind gives us a good reason to explain why Yellow Church is an AI but still shows up solid when he pops out of Caboose's head in Season 5. We see in Out of Mind that Delta actually has the ability to go solid to make it look like he's an actual person. It's very possible the whole time that Yellow Church is in front of everyone, They think that he's human because he's making himself look solid, but because he thinks he's human, that's why he's appearing solid. Unlike Church, he doesn't think he's dead, so he's not showing up ghostly. Yes, Yellow Church knows he got killed inside Caboose's head, but seeing as how he seems to be aware of the entire situation, he would probably know that if he's killed in Caboose's head, he's not actually dead. So to basically sum up the training scene, yes, mechanically Tex is talking to Church. Church, the AI, Alpha, jumped into Jimmy's head, and Jimmy in the background asking him to go with him because they have to get to training is Jimmy's subconscious basically saying, look, I have to leave. And the fact that Alpha jumps into Jimmy from time to time is why he was chosen for the implant process when Church was sent to Blood Gulch. And Tex is the only freelancer other than Wash that the AI was attempted to be taken out of her. And the other black soldiers there could very well be the Tex drones distorted temporarily to get the Church clones deleted from their head. Tex was only told that the other freelancers would get their AI removed. Just like Wash was told the break-in took place at Command when really it took place in the Mother of Invention when it was crashing on Sidewinder. Why would they tell Wash the truth? Why would they tell Tex the truth? So in conclusion, I would say that Out of Mind is definitely still canon to Red vs. Blue. Otherwise, Carolina wouldn't have gone to the island that York died on in Season 10. Hopefully the pieces I've put together here feel like they go together well and make sense, unlike these events. It's Paul Walker! Amazing! My next theory video will be a question that I've wanted answered for a long time and one of my favorite theories that I've thought of thus far. Whatever happened to Yellow Church?